Joining us now, Ranking Member, House Intelligence Committee, Republican Congressman Devin Nunes. It is now inevitable, Congressman. It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. We have talked about 5 separate buckets. We've talked about the FISA applications, 302s, Gang of 8, exculpatory evidence, and more. Now the president is declassified. This is a game changer. And the IG report, and Mr. Durham, and John Uber, and the Attorney General. Tell us what you see unfolding and when.
Well, I want to start by making sure the American people understand what Mueller did yesterday. I think you've done a pretty good job, but people also forget one important point. Mueller tried to do this victory lap. He tried to talk about the Russians that they found and the Russians that they prosecuted. I just want to remind people that the House Republicans on the Intelligence Committee had that over a year ago. And Mueller, if he's so concerned about these Russians, why did they obstruct our report from getting out? So our report's still heavily redacted, Sean. So, you know, Mueller didn't, none of that added up. I think you're exactly right. He lit the fuse. Yeah, the president can declassify that too. And you ask about what should come first. I mean, I think the thing that should come first is, number one, we still don't even know what Mueller was supposed to be investigating. We don't have that document. We know that he's talked about conspiracy to collude. Well, when he walked in the door, he knew there was no evidence of collusion. We know that because his lead investigators said so on text message. He was so blatantly dishonest yesterday that he says, well, the Office of Legal Counsel says that you can't indict a sitting president. Well, he should have been done after day 2. He has no Russians except for the Fusion and Clinton Russians and possibly the dirty cops at the FBI's Russians. Those are the only Russians that he has that show connections to the Trump campaign. Clearly, the Clinton operation is heavily working with Russians or Russian disinformation. He didn't take time to look into any of that. And then you have this, and he comes and says, well, there was no possibility to indict the president on obstruction of justice. So you just have to ask yourself, sitting back and thinking about it, what was that press conference all about yesterday?
What was it? Answer your own question.
It was only about one thing, and that was just to light the fuse for impeachment, because these guys are in big trouble. Another important point, let me point this out.
Wait a minute. When he backed off and he had to clarify with the joint statement, what does that mean?
Well, that was Barr actually being a grown-up and had to probably remind Mueller, hey, we've got you on the record 3 different times saying that you didn't have enough information or evidence to indict on obstruction. It had nothing to do with the position of the Office of Legal Counsel. But there's another important point that I think that people should remember about, and that is that you had Comey with diarrhea of the mouth yesterday in the Washington Post. He said something about Mifsud. Mifsud is the guy that supposedly knew about the dirt on Clinton.
The professor in England, yes.
He called him a Russian, the professor. He called him a Russian asset. Now, remember, in the Mueller dossier, Mueller stopped short of calling him a Russian asset. So now the former FBI director who started this investigation can't even get in full communication with the Mueller dossier people. And then just to finish up and put a final point on this, Weissman, and you were just talking about this in your monologue, Weissman and another attorney there handled the Steele dossier in August of 2016. Now, are you telling me these are high-level people, Bruce Orr, Andrew Weissman, and the other attorney that worked on the Mueller dossier team? Are you telling me that in August, these guys, they're sitting there looking at this very salacious and unverified information, and not one of them sits there and says, where did this come from, Bruce? Or where did this come from? Oh, my wife's doing it. My wife's working for Fusion GPS that's working for the Democrats in the Clinton campaign. I mean, the whole thing it's laughable. But it's so serious that you have trouble. I mean, you want to laugh, but at the same time, you just hope that justice is actually served to these criminals.
If you listen, though, to the Attorney General when he went before Senator Graham's committee, is he interested and wanting to get to the bottom of the FISA abuse? We know that Bruce Orr, behind closed doors, testified, yeah, he warned everybody. Hillary paid for it. Steele hates Trump. And by the way, it's unverified. That was in August of 2016. 10 days before, a State Department official, Kathleen Kavlik, also warned them before Comey signed off on the first FISA application. It says verified, but it's an unverifiable document because Steele doesn't stand by his own words. Are those people going to be held accountable? Do you see any way they get out of what I would think would be an indictment to commit fraud on a FISA court, an indictment to literally rig an investigation into their favorite candidate, Hillary Clinton, and then to use Russian lies to take down a duly elected president? Do they get away with that?
Well, I think the easiest thing to prosecute on are the leaks and the lying and obstructing Congress's investigation. What I would say, just in closing, is that if you look at what's happened in this whole investigation, you've got a lot of areas for the Department of Justice to look at. Don't forget about the State Department also. You've got the dirty cops, the State Department, and whoever from the Clinton campaign was working with the dirty cops to get information from Russia.
You've seen
That's how
this
you start and run a
information.
real investigation.
Would it be fair to say when the American people see what you have seen, it will shock the conscience and soul of this country?
Well, I always say on the FISA application especially that, you've heard Comey call it a mosaic. And it's just plain, yeah, people need to see what's there, because I think they would cringe if they knew what the government was willing to do to its citizens.
All right. Thank you, Congressman. We appreciate it.